Hello, Peaceful Inner Warriors United. Laura J. here with a message to say it's okay if you need to take some time to yourself. In fact, it's not only okay, it's necessary. And today I wanted to share 7 essential self-care practices that can really help you to be able to do what you came here to do, which is not be an obligation to someone and doing things out of that energy of obligation, but instead for us to be able to call ourselves back fully present where we are, to be able to show up and be full of ourselves, not in an egotistical way, but in a genuine presence way that allows us to say, hey, I'm with you, I see you, and you matter, which is what we need to be reminding each other of more than ever now, which is why the first self-care strategy I wanted to share today is take the cape off. People don't need you to be as strong as what you expect yourself to be, because it's unreasonable. Generally speaking, we're far too hard on ourselves and our standards are way too high, which isn't to say that we shouldn't have high standards, because the universe will only give us what we're willing to settle for. But the thing that I recently saw in a message that really just made me say, okay, yeah, I am often vulnerable and transparent, and I've shared the journey that I've been through over the last many years because I haven't known how else to do it. In truth, I don't know how to pretend to be something that I'm not. It just doesn't resonate for me to act and pretend, and if you ask me the truth, I'll say the truth, not because I am trying to impress anybody or anything like that. It's just who I am, and I have always tried to stay so true to who I saw myself to be that I set my standards way too low for a long time. And so when I say take the cape off, what I mean by that is we don't have to be Superwoman or Superman every day or even every moment. We simply have to be willing to relate to people where they are, to connect and to realize that when we are weak, when we are vulnerable, when we don't believe in ourselves and we're honest about that, we actually give other people permission to be vulnerable and open up in a way that will help them find the cracks in the foundation of their self-image too. So take the cape off and give yourself permission to be just enough, because enough is as good as a feast. The second technique is to make play dates with yourself at least weekly, if not daily. And a play date with yourself could be as simple as taking yourself for a walk instead of you needing to be taking a dog for a walk in order to get yourself moving, or get yourself to a yoga class, or to get out and do something fun, just you and the inner child within that is so underloved. Over the last many Sundays, I read Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. In the sacred self-compassion services I run at 10 a.m., we start with some movement and a song in the lead up to 10:10 when the service actually begins. So I'd love for you to be able to join. But in Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, A Course in Recovering and Discovering the Artist Within, she encourages 2 pieces of homework every week. And one of them is morning pages, to write in your journal for 20 minutes, or the first 3 pages in your journal, and to do that every single morning, just to brain dump. But the other recommendation, she says, is to take yourself on a date every single week, to do something that your inner child will absolutely love, that is fun, that will nourish, that will inspire you, and then act from that place of having recharged. The third suggestion is to drop the baggage of guilt. The woulda, shoulda, couldas, didn't. Those don't serve anyone because they're no longer present moments, which means you can't change them. So instead of dwelling on what didn't happen, instead it's time to simply say, okay, I'm going to prepare myself to seize the moment when it appears. And I'm going to look fear straight in the face and act anyway, because I understand that in order to be who I came here to be, I have to get over the fear of my former self-image in order to embrace the new one that comes with the action that requires us step beyond our comfort zone, into the growth zone, and sometimes even to the outer edge of that growth zone, which is also known as the terror barrier. And when we break through that terror barrier and actually do it scared, jump and build your wings on the way down, as Paul Martinelli always says, that is when we reach the new experience of being who we got to be because we chose to take action toward it. The fourth tip is actually one very reflective for me today, and that is that it's okay to have a low day. It's okay to not have a lot of energy or to feel like you really just need to rest and relax. And especially when we're committed to being the change we see in this world. So oftentimes we can get distracted because of our desire to be an impact in the world. But we also have to remember the well analogy, which is to say that our body is literally a container of energy. So if you think of our body as the well, if you're constantly pulling from the well, pulling from the well, pulling from the well, pulling from the well, never filling the well back up, the well eventually dries up. And so what we have to learn to do is intentionally pour into the well and to stop pouring out of the well until we have enough to be able to give from a place of abundance and overflow, because we've given so much to ourselves, we have extra. And when we give from that extra, that's when it doesn't cost us anything. But when we give when we're already depleted, as I would have been doing had I done this message any earlier in this day, then we're essentially pulling from an already depleted well, which means we're hitting rock bottom, and the bucket is then finally pulling out the water that has more dirt in the bottom because you had to shift the bottom in order to get enough from what was left. And so it's okay to have a low day. The fifth suggestion is to give yourself space to unfold. If you think of yourself as a baby emerging from an egg, if we try to help that baby get out of that egg any faster than the baby is ready to get themselves out, we risk killing that chick. It's the same with the caterpillar. When they are in the cocoon about to become a butterfly, if we snip off the end so that that butterfly is able to emerge without having to struggle and fight to get out of that space, then we actually kill them prematurely because we don't allow the wings to get strong by having to fight. And that's when the body's fluid goes out to the wings, and then that is how the butterfly emerges strong enough to take flight. So we have to be willing to give ourselves the space that we need to be able to be fully present where we are. The sixth technique is to be willing to say no to what feels draining. When something feels draining, it goes back to the well analogy, and it means that either we've already depleted ourselves because of pouring out without putting enough back in, or it's a misaligned opportunity, or somebody is expecting something of us and they are an energy vampire. Energy vampirism is very real. It's rampant and it's culturally acceptable, which means the cult you are a part of says it's okay to take from others. It's okay to just steal and siphon off the energy of those who seem to have excess because they give so freely. So it's really permission to say you don't have to give just because somebody's asking. You don't have to go just because you were invited. You don't have to do anything. And in fact, if you can change your language from have to get to, everything changes, because then we really understand the blessing of choice and the gift that we have to choose the reality that we're going to experience on our day-to-day lives. The seventh technique is the final one that I would really hope you would embrace. If not all the others, please just take this one. And the seventh technique is to treat yourself as you would a child you love. Hopefully you have a little person in your life, or have in your life, that really just makes you smile because you can see their innocence and their purity, and you want nothing more for that little person to grow up and realize they're as wonderful as you recognize them to be. And what I would love above all else is for you to be able to give yourself that gift of grace today and every day. To be willing to say, hey, you're awesome, to yourself when you look in the mirror. Look yourself straight in the eyes and talk to yourself nicely. Say things out loud to others and yourself that are nice, because your inner child is listening to everything. Everything you say to somebody else, that child hears. Everything you say to yourself, that child hears. And when you're mean to someone else or yourself, that child loses trust in you. And when you do things that are uplifting and encouraging and inviting for others of a positive nature, that child says, oh, wow, you're somebody I can trust and respect. And we all want to respect people. We want to respect people because we're all mirrors to one another. And so if we realize that everyone is a mirror to us, and then we are getting back what we're putting out, that's when we have to understand how important it is to be kind to ourselves, so that at the end of the day, the child that is inside our heart, who may have been suppressed, compressed, repressed, depressed, tried to pretend didn't even exist over time, all of those aspects of ourselves are just part of that little child within that's trying to figure out who we are in this world and what we're here to do. And so instead of judging ourselves if we haven't yet figured it out, or if we're in process, or we haven't had the material gains that would justify success by other people's expectations and standards, it's time to just simply say, I love you anyway, to ourselves. It's time to be kind. It's time to take the time that we need to recharge so that we have more to give to the world. So I hope that you will choose to be kind to yourself. I hope that you will choose to fill your cells with love and gratitude and higher vibing frequencies of emotion, which are energies in motion that we're going to be working with together over the coming month in these daily messages. So thank you for tuning in today. I hope these 7 techniques are helpful for you, and if you have any extras, please do share what you do as part of your self-care practice so that we can uplift and build each other throughout our days every day, and know that we have a way to do that by connecting here. Peaceful Inner Warriors United is the movement. You can get more information from me at ljeh.ca, and I very much look forward to walking this journey home to ourselves together with you. Thanks for tuning in today. Toodaloo.